Hello, everybody. Happy Wednesday. Yesterday was a big day. And later today, I will be doing a second video on the top things you missed from the Tesla earnings call. And believe me, it was mind melting. They brought forward about 3 years of what I envisioned. Anyway, back to Bitcoin. This is a Bitcoin show, of course. Sorry about that. Let's talk about what's happening. April 30th is the date set. That is 6 days from now for the Hong Kong/China ETFs. They're coming. And we are excited. We're going to break down some of their competitive fee structures as well. Crypto market cap is 2.4 trillion. Big dump in Bitcoin today, down just shy of 65K as we speak, dropping $2,000, which is a nothing burger for you veterans out there. But still, it's big and has people rattled. Crypto fear and greed is still 72. And today we're going to talk about some of the usual stuff. We're going to go through all the Bitcoin news, some really big news. I'm going to revisit my theory as to what actually drives Bitcoin adoption beyond making money, but they impact things like tax regimes around the world and also, not just tax, trust in governments as well. Then we'll look at the ETF flows. We'll talk about the reasons for the dumpage today, and then look at some charts and projections as to what could happen in the very near future. Lots of stuff talking about as well. Big thank you to the team behind me to make all this possible. Shout out to Jonathan Bees, new to your Patreon. And it's the best thing I could have done. Thank you for being there. We have a long road to hoe as we go. Sometimes I say things and they just rhyme. I don't know. Maybe I missed my calling as a rapper or something. Bitcoin playlist will be here. And the reason for the dumpage today took a lot of people by surprise, including myself. From Ash Crypto, Grayscale has transferred 2,373 Bitcoin worth 156 million to Coinbase. That is a big dump. As you know, I've got this chart that I created 72 trading days ago. And I always look at this pink line. It's good to be above trend. We are now, if this is true, if this dumpage that we just showed here is true of 2,373 Bitcoin, that will take us below trend, about 156 million. And we haven't been this low in about, 8 days. So it's not the end of the world. But the point is, this thing just keeps on bleeding. I mean, what the hell are they doing over there at Grayscale? I know they're trying to stem the tide with their little mini ETF and such. But anyway, Doc Intern, thank you for coming. Now let's talk about this. This is from Hey Apollo. GBTC 1 month ago had 46% of all Bitcoin. Now it's 36%. And that all Bitcoin, I mean, held in the ETFs. The market needs their selling to sustain prices under $100,000 Bitcoin. And soon enough, GBTC will plug the leak or be out of Bitcoin to sell, one or the other. It's nice to see that perspective because that is logical. It's only a matter of time. The question is, I had reckoned once they hit 300,000 Bitcoin left, that is 320,000 sold, there'd be no more than 100,000 left to sell, which would take them to a 200,000 Bitcoin balance. And at the bleed rate of, say, 2,000 Bitcoin a day, we have 50 days left. Some days would be less, some days could be more, but there's lots of other stuff happening out there. And again, as Thomas here says, the market needs that. It's actually a blessing because it's keeping the price suppressed until people can fill their bags. And we're seeing big radical changes. I'll be doing a detailed breakdown tomorrow of how the wallets have changed between all the cohorts. I haven't done that in a while, and that's also very interesting. And it's good to see that over the last 30 days, retail has returned. Now, speaking of retail returning, the whales big time have returned. The 1,000 to 10,000 Bitcoin wallet whales have accumulated 266,000 Bitcoin worth 18 billion in just 16 weeks. That's over 1.4% of the total Bitcoin supply. Again, scooped up in 16 weeks. And a lot of people saying, well, you're still bearish. Remember, the Bitcoin market is driven by whales initially. Then the retail are always last to the party. They get FOMO and they come in afterwards. So you want to get in when the whales are getting in too. Very important. Speaking of whales, BlackRock could hit number 9 on the charts. This is basically the history of the longest daily inflow streaks for ETFs. If BlackRock has a positive day today, they will be number 9 on this list, and they will basically match DFAC US equity. And then after that, RDVY, etc. We'll see if they can continue this roll. But that's a very, very positive development out there as well. HS1, thank you for coming over there in Euroland. And remember, we have 6 days to go until Hong Kong hits. Now, a good thing about this chart here is the rates, the fees for these ETFs are actually way lower than expected. They're under 1%. A lot of people are thinking 1.5%, 2%. But the first one, China AMC, is 0.99%. Harvest is free for the first 6 months, and then 0.3% after. And then Bosera is 0.6%. So that'll help attract some more money. And again, there's lots of confusion. People say, oh, it's just Hong Kong. Hong Kong is just a small village. It's not really China. No. The rich people in China have access to rails in Hong Kong. And I think this will be a lot bigger than people expect. I could be wrong, but I know how this market invests. Spent quite a bit of time, a little hair on my shirt. Oh, sorry about that. Anyway, let's talk about more crazy adoption stuff too. Australia has been going through some weird stuff ever since 2020 due to the whole C thing, which I will not talk about. But now they've got over 1,000 active Bitcoin ATMs and placing it among the top 3 countries for Bitcoin ATMs in the world, alongside USA and Canada. What's going on and why? Shout out to all the Australians in the community as well. I think the 3 biggest cohorts are Canadians, Australians, and Dutch on a per capita basis, and I've done the math. There are more people per capita from those countries in my community than anywhere else on earth. The question is why? And I always ask myself this question. And this is, I think, one of the reasons. I call it trust in government is now at record lows. And this is just US data. And I know these charts, if you were sharing them for places like Canada and Australia, it would be way beyond record lows. The chart would be like a meme coin going up or down. So what's happening exactly? Well, the drive for adoption that we mentioned here, and I'm just piecing things together in my head. Again, I could be completely wrong, but the data proves otherwise. There is no trust in government. And if you look at the adoption of Bitcoin, it's actually now faster than the World Wide Web, the internet adoption. Let me blow this chart up for a second. You can see it is happening as slowly as the internet, but in 2023 and 2022 and 2021, it's actually being adopted faster than the internet. And we expect it to go a lot faster, especially in 2024. When this chart is updated, we'll probably see it sometime in 2025. But I expect that black line to be a lot higher than the gray line, which means more than 400 million users of Bitcoin as we go forward. Right now, we're currently floating around 250, 300, depending on how you measure active wallets, etc. So why is Bitcoin now being adopted faster than the internet? Well, as I've always surmised, there is low trust in government, and sometimes it's just a necessity. If you are in Turkey with hyperinflation, but you need Bitcoin. If you're in Vietnam, maybe you don't quite trust the government. But Nigeria, they got a CBDC. But they banned Bitcoin as well, which is a great marketing campaign. Humans like things that are typically banned. Venezuela, all sorts of problems there with the IMF debt. And Venezuela just opened their doors to trading oil for crypto. Tether first, maybe Bitcoin second down the line. Then you got Brazil, India, US, Singapore, South Africa, Thailand, Philippines. They all have reasons, but many of these countries also have strong distrust in government too. It doesn't have Canadian data there that is actually correct, because I know Canadian and Australian and Dutch adoption is far higher than you would imagine. But what's also going on too is not just trust in governments, but this came out. I read this this morning. It was about a new tax plan that the government has planned. Now, let's be very clear. A plan for a budget from a president for 2025 that may not even be in office still needs to be approved by Congress, etc. It may never, ever hit a table, may never get approved. But this is what governments are thinking. We saw the data out of Canada already last week about capital gains tax. And I've been warning for a long time that governments, with AI coming and UBI and everything else, they're going to need find ways to tax the residents more. They're going to go after property taxes. They're going to go after income taxes. They're going to go after the super wealthy. And they're going to go after capital gains. But the story here is they are planning. This is the bonkers piece. Okay, just from a numbers basis. There is a Biden proposal, and they want to tax the people that pay capital gains to raise approximately $245.9 billion over 10 years. All right, that sounds like a lot of money, but not when they spend 1.2 trillion every 100 days. Okay, so 10 years, they'll raise $250 billion with this tax plan, which will crush capital markets, crush incentives. And what the rich people do is they get on their little bicycle and they leave. They vote with their feet. They get out of oppressive regimes. And there's a free Substack added here if you're interested. I write a lot of free stuff when I get very heated or very passionate about something. And you can always read them too. But this is one that's worth reading because it's not just happening in the US. It's going to happen all over the world. The next 6 to 10 years will be drastically different than what we've come through before. Okay? And people will vote for their feet. Those that have enough money to leave and escape a regime, they will. I'm seeing that happen all over Europe now with my friends over there. They are leaving tax-free domiciles because they're fed up. They don't want, hey, government, you take half. Oh, by the way, of the half you take of whatever, you're also taking my salary, and I'm paying sales tax, and I'm paying property tax and everything else. And you add all this up, we start getting very close to 70, 80% rates. And that is just, there comes a point where people break. So check that paper out, and it'll show a breakdown from Mr. Laffer, top-notch finance guy, of how effectively, with inflation, you will end up paying 120% tax. So anyway, it's a terrifying story, but you have to see it. And that's kind of the whole point here as well. And related to that, Mark Moss came out after I wrote this paper this morning. Biden proposes increasing the capital gain tax to 44%. This is why you never sell your Bitcoin. And this is also a key secret for the super wealthy. They don't pay taxes because they don't sell anything, but they borrow against their assets. And then they write off the interest on the debt that they borrow. And they use the money they borrow to reinvest. It's like another money glitch which are out there. So anyway, check that stuff out. Back to this. This is the quick paper here. You'll check it out later. And anyway, the other thing that's happening this year too is an election year. And when governments propose certain things, it can make them very unpopular. And I don't know if they're thinking through this. But then again, more than half of the United States is living paycheck to paycheck. So a lot of people really aren't making any money, so they don't really care. They just want a government to take care of them. But this is a piece that will come in, and many believe it'll kick in before the elections in November 2024, and that is liquidity. You can see liquidity is down 0.3% as of 17th of April 2024, and this chart will change over the coming months. It will certainly change the course because for election years, they like to pump the system full of liquidity to make people feel wealthier so they vote a certain way. It's just a fact of life. Could this year be different? We'll see. It depends what happens. But I do believe we could see for the first time ever a change in who people elect, who are much more pro-Bitcoin, pro-freedom, pro-low taxes, etc. because people are really hurting right now. It'll be interesting to see. Anyway, don't worry about the super rich because they will vote with their feet and they'll go to a tax-free jurisdiction. Now back to Bitcoin. Sorry about the little rant, but I think it's very important for us to know the ratio between trust and taxes and how that actually impacts the Bitcoin adoption. But back to this. This is the dynamic range NVT, which is basically equivalent to Bitcoin's PE ratio. It suggests right now that we are in deep value opportunity because much of the value driven by this new era of increased Bitcoin on-chain utilization makes the chain, the blockchain, the network much more valuable than ever before. So per this chart, it looks like, let's see if there's a little price here of where we can go. If it does, well, there's no price correlation to it, but basically Bitcoin is in the deep value zone too. And in other news too, Bitcoin energy value is now at 83,000. And this is the intrinsic value of Bitcoin priced in raw joules of electricity into the mining network only. And this electrical cost suggesting a higher baseline for prices. So we have this Bitcoin energy value. It's currently at 83,000, and it's going to trend into 90 to 100,000 in the coming weeks as a result of the lower annualized supply growth rate of Bitcoin, and of course the increasing hash rate and everything else. So that could be a new baseline price for Bitcoin, 83 to 100K. And there's a lot of people talking about how that could easily happen. Now, in other adoption news too, this just came out today, breaking news from Jack Dorsey. Not only did Jack Dorsey talk about his new 3 nanometer chip yesterday for Bitcoin mining, but this block, which is used by many merchants who sell things, coffee shops and record stores and art on the streets. Swipe your phone, boom, basically opens up people to become merchants without all the crazy hard difficult credit card stuff that you need to do to get a merchant account. But now what he enables is people can automatically convert up to 10% of what you make selling your wares into Bitcoin. So you sell $100, just auto DCA $10 of that into a different currency called Bitcoin. This could be massive for adoption. Massive. One day I'll tell you all a funny story about this, of how I DCA'd back in the day. Anyway, another fun news too. Before we get to the charts, Peter Schiff, he said, I could have been a billionaire if I had bought Bitcoin when I first heard about it. So I sure regret that. Probably some of the reason why he's so anti-Bitcoin is because he missed out and he feels very bitter about that. So it was nice to see a little moment of truth. Anyway, no more oxygen to that. Time for some charts. Now, for the first time ever, I have actually included the charts for the potential of Grayscale dumpage today. I don't know if those numbers are actually real, but I have included that 156 million on day 72, which is 4/24, April 24th. But let's focus on the numbers from yesterday. And yesterday we had a positive 31.6 million in big day for both IBIT and ARK, both at about $35 million a piece. But Grayscale did dump $67 million. And today, maybe another 156 million, which is big. Sometimes we don't know, because of the delays. Maybe part of the 156 million dumped to Coinbase today could have been from yesterday but delayed. We'll find out later tonight. Make sure I'll make the post on Patreon like usual as soon as I get the information. This is the update. Again, I included the green dip for Grayscale if it's true, but maybe it does include numbers. But you see, everything still is waning a little bit, but still net positive. Now, if we do include the big dump today and assume nothing else comes in, it could be a red day, the first one we've had in over a week. That's not too good. Total money flow, again, big blue bark there is for today. I don't know if it's going to be the same, but going on yesterday's number, we were slightly positive, about $35 million. So not bad at all. 34.7 billion inflows into the 9 new ETFs. By the way, this number is based on the Bitcoin price in real time. The whole model takes real-time prices and prices of Bitcoin as a certain day, average price, to calculate the number of Bitcoin bought by the ETFs. So that was higher yesterday, about 35.3 billion, but now it's lower because the price of Bitcoin is down $2,000. In fact, let me check on the price of Bitcoin live as we speak. Still weak. 64.7. I thought this morning they were going after the leverage longs, and then about half an hour later I saw the Grayscale dump. So it could be a double barrel reason, but this thing will rebound to 67k. I don't know if it's the next 24 or 48 hours, but that's an inevitability. Definitely over the next 10 days with all the money coming in too. Anyway, 536,000 Bitcoin in the new ETFs, 275,000 within BlackRock, 154,000 within Fidelity, and 317,000 left Grayscale. More than half is gone from Grayscale since January 11th. And the amount that were taken from the system yesterday was 476 Bitcoin after 930 Bitcoin being taken for 2 days in a row. But the key thing here is, even though it was a weak day, not a lot of money, huge Grayscale dumpage, still more Bitcoin that's actually mined. We're mining 450 a day right now, get pulled from the system. That's stunning. When this thing is flushed for once and for all, it's going to be crazy. Let me show you why in a couple of charts right now. First of all, I did share this yesterday. This is my target for when $100,000 Bitcoin. It's going to be on or before the 15th of August, and that's 114 days away from today. Now, backing that up, per Titan of Crypto, they believe we could see $115,000 sooner than expected because of the LMACD, which is a version of MACD tied into the Ishimoku analysis that he uses. And basically, last time it did this, Bitcoin shot up 75% straight. Again, if we didn't have that dumpage from Grayscale, we could easily be $100,000 already. And if Bitcoin goes up 75% again, based on history, we could see the price hitting $115,000 very soon. Again, we need that thing to be flushed before we even think about getting there. But who knows? Maybe with the addition of Hong Kong ETFs, that could far outweigh the dumpage from Grayscale. And the dumpage from Grayscale is horrendous. Final chart of the day, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you all for coming. Thank you to the mods in the chat too. If history repeats, we could run this bull run till September, October 2025 from wrecked capital. And the next bull market peak could occur 518 to 546 days after the halving. And that is mid-September or mid-October 2025. Remember, if we get that perpetual bid coming in from the ETFs, we may not even have the usual bear market we have. But we'll know when we get closer to the time. So make sure you stay subscribed and hope you enjoy the show. Thanks everybody for coming. I'll be back in a couple of hours too. And update you all, and let's see what Bitcoin does in the next 48 hours. Thanks, everybody. Thank you.